My name is Bridget Coleman, and I'm 25 years old. I'll never forget the day my life turned upside down standing in my brother's sleek Miami office, his eyes cold as steel. "You're throwing everything away for some homeless woman," he snapped, slamming his fist on the desk. Papers scattered and my heart pounded. I'd just told him I was helping a stranger, a woman I barely knew, by giving her a place to stay and a job at the cafe where I worked. He'd promised to fund my dream of opening a healthy fast food restaurant, but now he was ripping that promise apart. "You're a fool, Bridget. You're no sister of mine." His words cut deeper than I'd expected, each one a jab to my chest. I stood my ground, chin up, refusing to let him see me break. "She deserves a chance," I said, voice steady, despite the storm inside me. He scoffed, grabbed his phone, and canceled the bank transfer right in front of me, $10,000 gone in a click. "Get out," he growled, pointing to the door. I walked away, my dream in tatters, but a fire lit inside me. I'd prove him wrong no matter what it took. That woman I helped. She changed everything more than I could have imagined, and years later, when her secret came to light, it left him begging for a piece of what I'd built. Do you think my brother was too cruel? Share your thoughts below in the comments. Weeks after my brother's betrayal, I was wiping down tables at the cafe when I spotted her again, the homeless woman I'd helped. She sat outside sketching recipes on a tattered napkin, her hands steady despite her worn clothes. I approached, offering a coffee. "I'm Bridget," I said, sliding the cup toward her. She looked up, eyes sharp, and introduced herself as Clara. We talked, and I learned she had a knack for cooking. Her recipes were genius, blending bold Miami flavors with healthy twists. "Why don't you cook anymore?" I asked. Clara's smile faded, and she mumbled something about stepping away from the spotlight. I didn't push, but her words stuck with me. That night, I called my best friend Kristen Burke, who'd always believed in my restaurant dream. I met someone who could help us. I told her, my voice buzzing with excitement. Kristen didn't hesitate. "Let's do this, Bridget. Let's open that place." We found a rundown spot in Miami's Wynwood district, a narrow storefront with peeling paint and a flickering sign. It was all we could afford with our savings. Clara agreed to join us, sharing her recipes: kale quinoa bowls, avocado tuna wraps, things that could make healthy fast food a hit. But her past was a mystery. When I asked about her life before the streets, she'd changed the subject, her eyes distant. I figured she'd tell me when she was ready. Kristen and I spent nights scrubbing floors, painting walls, and begging suppliers for credit. The equipment was secondhand, the budget was tight, and every step felt like a gamble. I poured my heart into those recipes, tweaking them under Clara's guidance, her quiet confidence pushing me forward. She'd hover over the stove, adjusting spices with a precision that felt almost professional, but she never bragged. Money was the real problem. Our savings dried up fast, and suppliers started calling, demanding payments we didn't have. I swallowed my pride and called my mom. "I need help," I said, explaining the restaurant. Her voice was soft but hesitant. "Bridget, I can lend you $5,000, but you know I believe in your brother's judgment." My stomach twisted. She was still on his side, still thought I was chasing a pipe dream. The loan barely covered a month's rent, and I hung up feeling more alone than ever. The community didn't make it easier. Locals whispered about our fancy health food, skeptical it'd last in a city of burgers and tacos. Some even questioned Clara's presence, muttering about that homeless woman in our kitchen. I overheard a customer at the cafe say, "Who trusts a cook like that?" I clenched my fists, wanting to scream that Clara's talent was the heart of our menu. Kristen kept me grounded. One night, as we unpacked a delivery of mismatched plates, she grabbed my shoulders. "We're doing this for us, not them," she said. I nodded, but the doubts crept in. Could we really pull this off? Clara caught me staring at a stack of unpaid bills and sat me down. "You've got fire, Bridget," she said, her voice firm. "I've seen people try and fail, but you're different. Don't let them dim that." Her words hit hard, and I realized she wasn't just talking about cooking. There was something bigger behind her eyes, something she wasn't ready to share. I didn't know it then, but Clara's belief in me was about to change everything. We pushed forward, working late into the night, perfecting every dish. Clara's recipes were our secret weapon, but the whispers and bills kept piling up. I lay awake at night wondering if I'd made a mistake, if my brother was right. But every time I saw Clara in the kitchen, her hands moving like she was born for it, I knew I couldn't give up. Not on her, not on Kristen, not on myself. The real test was coming, and I had no idea how much it would cost us. The next morning, a delivery truck pulled up with our first big order of ingredients. The delivery truck roared away, leaving crates of fresh kale and quinoa stacked outside our Wynwood storefront. Our house was officially open, and my heart raced as the first customers trickled in. I stood behind the counter watching a young couple bite into Clara's avocado tuna wraps, their eyes lighting up. "This is unreal," the guy said, nudging his girlfriend. I grinned, but my nerves were still on edge. Kristen buzzed around taking orders, her energy infectious. Clara stayed in the kitchen, her hands a blur as she plated orders with precision. We'd done it, our healthy fast food dream was alive in Miami's food scene. But every order felt like a test, every customer a chance to prove we belonged. 2 weeks later, a woman in a sharp blazer walked in, her notebook in hand. She introduced herself as Susan Marsh, a food critic for Miami Bites. My stomach flipped, her reviews could make or break us. She ordered a kale quinoa bowl and sat quietly scribbling notes. I hovered near the kitchen, whispering to Clara, "This is big. We can't mess it up." Clara just nodded, her focus unbreakable as she drizzled a citrus vinaigrette. When Susan took her first bite, she paused, then smiled. "This is bold," she said, locking eyes with me. "You're onto something here." By the next morning, her review hit the internet, calling our food a game changer in Miami's fast food scene. Orders poured in, and our tiny dining area was packed for the first time. Kristen high-fived me behind the counter, her voice a squeal. "We're actually doing this." Bridget Susan didn't stop at the review. She emailed me a week later inviting our restaurant to the Miami Food Festival, a huge event showcasing the city's best eateries. "Your fresh take deserves a spotlight," she wrote. I read the email aloud to Kristen and Clara, my hands shaking. This was our shot to go big, to show Miami we weren't just a flash in the pan. But the festival was only a month away, and we barely had enough staff or supplies to keep up with our current demand. Kristen grabbed a notepad, already planning. "We'll need a bigger menu, more hands, everything," she said. Clara chimed in, suggesting a new dish, a spicy mango chicken wrap to wow the crowd. I felt a surge of hope, but it didn't last long. Whispers started creeping in, quiet at first, then louder. Customers began asking strange questions. "Is your chicken really organic one?" Woman demanded, her brow furrowed. "I heard you cut corners on ingredients." My jaw dropped. I'd spent hours vetting suppliers to ensure quality. Kristen overheard another table muttering about cheap produce and shot me a worried look. It didn't take long to figure out the source. My brother had been talking, spreading lies about our ingredients to his industry contacts. A supplier tipped me off, saying he'd heard my brother at a networking event claiming our restaurant was a scam that wouldn't last. My blood boiled. He wasn't just cutting me off, he was trying to bury us. I confronted Kristen and Clara in the kitchen after closing my voice tight. "He's sabotaging us," I said, slamming a dish towel on the counter. Kristen's eyes narrowed. "He's scared you're going to outshine him," she said, her tone fierce. Clara stayed quiet, but her jaw clenched like she knew more than she was letting on. I didn't push her. There was no time. The festival was our chance to prove him wrong, and we threw ourselves into prep. Kristen trained 2 new part-timers, teaching them to handle the rush. I stayed up late perfecting the menu with Clara, who tweaked recipes like a master. We stretched our budget to buy extra ingredients, skipping sleep to practice plating. Every night I checked our online reviews, wincing at new comments echoing my brother's lies. Overpriced and sketchy, one read. Each word felt like a punch, But I refused to let it stop me. The festival loomed closer and the pressure mounted. We were betting everything on this, our reputation, our dream. Kristen kept us focused, cracking jokes to ease the tension, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Clara worked harder than anyone, her hands steady even as orders piled up. I caught her staring at a photo of the festival's logo one night, her expression unreadable. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded, but something in her eyes told me she was holding back. I didn't know what, but I trusted her. We had to make this work no matter what my brother threw at us. A week before the festival, Kristen burst through the door, waving her phone, her eyes wide with excitement. "Tara's throwing her birthday party this weekend," she said, scrolling through a text. "She wants us there, says it's a big deal." I nodded, but my stomach twisted. My cousin's parties always drew family, and that meant facing my brother. I hadn't seen him since he spread lies about our restaurant's ingredients. But Tara was family, and I wouldn't let him keep me away. "We're going," I told Kristen, forcing confidence into my voice. She grinned, already planning our outfits. The party was at a rooftop venue in downtown Miami, packed with string lights and industry folks from the food scene. Tara Quinn, my cousin, spotted us and rushed over, pulling me into a hug. "Bridget, you made it?" she said, her smile bright as she turned 28. Kristen handed her a gift and we mingled, but my eyes kept darting to the crowd. I spotted my brother by the bar, laughing with a guy in a tailored suit. Kristen nudged me. "Don't let him get to you," she whispered. I gripped my drink, determined to keep the night peaceful. It didn't stay that way. Tara pulled me to the center for a birthday toast. "To family and chasing dreams," she said, raising her glass, her eyes flicking to me. "Like Bridget's restaurant, built with heart, and Clara's incredible recipes." The crowd clapped, but my brother's voice cut through. "Recipes? You mean that homeless woman's scraps?" he sneered, stepping forward. The room hushed and my blood boiled. "Her name's Clara, and her food's better than anything you've ever done," I shot back, my voice steady. He laughed, cold and sharp. "You're betting on a nobody, Bridget. Your little restaurant's a joke, and it's going down." Tara stepped between us, her face hard. "This is my party, not your battleground," she said, glaring at him. But he ignored her, his eyes locked on me. "You think you're winning with that food festival? You're nothing." My fists clenched and I opened my mouth to fire back, but the guy beside him spoke first, his voice low but clear. "She's not nothing," he said, looking at me. "And neither is Clara." I froze. He introduced himself as Derek Lane, my brother's colleague from his restaurant chain. His face looked familiar, and the way he said Clara's name sent a chill down my spine. I stared at Derek, my mind racing. "What do you know about Clara?" I asked, my voice sharp. The crowd leaned in, sensing the tension. Derek hesitated, glancing at my brother, who shot him a warning look. But then Derek straightened, his jaw set. "Clara used to run a chain of restaurants," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I worked with her years ago. Your brother stole her recipes to get his promotion." Gasps rippled through the room. My brother's face turned red, his hands shaking. "That's a lie," he shouted, stepping toward Derek. But Derek didn't back down. "I saw the emails," he said, his eyes meeting mine. "I helped him do it, and I've carried that guilt ever since." My heart pounded as the truth hit me. Clara's skill, her precision, it wasn't just talent. It was a legacy my brother had exploited. I stepped closer to him, my voice unwavering. "I'm not stopping," I said. "We're going to the Miami Food Festival, and we'll prove you wrong, Clara. Me, all of us." The crowd murmured, some nodding in support. Tara grabbed my arm, her voice fierce. "You've got this, Bridget," she said. Kristen stepped up beside me, her eyes blazing. "We're with you all the way." My brother's face twisted with rage, but he said nothing. He shoved past Derek, storming toward the exit, leaving whispers in his wake. Tara pulled me aside later, her expression serious. "I had no idea he was this low," she said. "You don't deserve this." I nodded, grateful, But my mind was on Derek's words. Clara had a past she'd kept hidden, and my brother was part of it. I didn't know the full story, but I knew I'd fight for her legacy. As we left the venue, Kristen's phone buzzed with a new email. She stopped in the parking lot, her face tightening as she read it aloud. Check Miami Foodie Forum. People are trashing your restaurant. My stomach dropped. I grabbed her phone, scanning the posts. They claimed our quinoa was moldy, our fish was frozen, even our smoothies were watered down. Regulars were canceling bookings, and our online reviews tanked overnight. This isn't random, I said, my voice shaking. It's Steven. Kristen nodded, her jaw clenched. He's hitting us where it hurts. Back at the restaurant, the damage was clear. Tables that were packed last week sat empty. A loyal customer, a gym owner, approached me hesitantly. Bridget, I heard you're using cheap ingredients, he said, frowning. Is that true? I assured him our suppliers were top-notch, but his doubt lingered. Kristen overheard slamming a stack of menus down. He's trying to sink us before the festival, she said. Clara, prepping in the kitchen, paused, her knife hovering over a mango. She didn't speak, but her eyes burned with something unspoken. The Miami Food Festival was 3 days away, and we couldn't afford this hit. Then the landlord called. Got an offer to buy the building, he said, his tone clipped. Some corporate guy wants you out fast. My heart raced. I pressed for details, and he mentioned a shell company tied to my brother's restaurant chain. Steven wasn't just spreading lies, he was trying to evict us to crush our dream before we could shine at the festival. I hung up, my hands trembling. He's playing dirty, I told Kristen, who was already digging through public records on her laptop. It's him, she confirmed, pointing to a vague corporate name linked to his firm. We had no hard proof, but the pieces fit. That evening, my phone rang. It was Derek Lane, the colleague who'd exposed Steven's theft of Clara's recipes at Tara's party. Bridget, we need to talk, he said, his voice urgent. I have documents you'll want. I hesitated. His betrayal of Steven made him an ally, but trust was hard. Still, his guilt at the party felt genuine, so I agreed to meet him at a diner near Wynwood. He slid a USB drive across the table, his eyes avoiding mine. These are internal emails and contracts, he said. They prove Steven used Clara's recipes to secure his VP role, and now he's paying bloggers to smear your restaurant. I plugged the drive into my laptop, my breath catching, as I read emails detailing payments to anonymous accounts for online campaigns against us. There were also contracts showing Steven claiming Clara's dishes as his own years ago. I needed to act fast. Kristen knew a journalist, Robert Gray from Miami Herald, who'd covered food industry scandals. I called him, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. I have evidence my brother's trying to ruin my restaurant, I said, outlining the emails and the building purchase. Robert agreed to meet us the next day at his office. When we arrived, he scanned the USB drive's contents, his expression growing serious. This could be big, he said, tapping his pen. If these check out, I'll publish before the festival. I handed over everything, my heart pounding. Kristen squeezed my shoulder. We're fighting back, she said. Robert moved quickly. His article dropped online 2 days later, headlined, Restaurant Exec Linked to Recipe Theft and Smear Campaign. It exposed Steven's payments to bloggers for false reviews and his theft of Clara's recipes backed by the emails and contracts from Derek. The story spread like wildfire across social media, food blogs, and even local news. Customers who'd turned away started calling to apologize, and new ones showed up drawn by our underdog story. Steven's reputation crumbled, his company issued a public apology, and industry insiders distanced themselves from him. But he didn't stop. The morning before the festival, he stormed into the restaurant, his face flushed with anger. You think a news article changes anything, he yelled, pointing at me. Customers froze, forks in hand. Clara stepped out from the kitchen, her arms crossed, staring him down. You're done, Steven, I said, my voice cold. The truth's out, and we're still standing. He scoffed, but his eyes darted nervously. You'll fail. he spat, shoving the door open as he left. Kristen grabbed my arm, her voice fierce. He's wrong, Bridget. We've got this. I nodded, but the festival loomed and the pressure was crushing. As I locked up that night, Clara pulled me aside, her voice low. The restaurant was quiet, the only sound the hum of the fridge. She led me to a corner booth, her hands clasped tightly. Bridget, there's something I need to tell you, she said, her eyes searching mine. I sat down, my heart racing. Clara had always been private, her past a mystery beyond the recipes she'd shared. After Derek's revelation at Tara's party, I knew there was more to her story, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. I wasn't always like this. Clara began, her voice steady but soft. 20 years ago, I owned a chain of restaurants, Newman's Bistros. They were the talk of Miami, built on my recipes. She paused, her fingers tracing the edge of the table. I lost everything when your brother stole my work. He was my business partner then, and I trusted him. When I hit hard times, he took my recipes, my brand, and left me with nothing. My jaw dropped. The weight of Derek's words at the party hit harder now. Clara wasn't just a talented cook. She'd been a pioneer betrayed by Stephen. I reached for her hand, my voice shaking. Why didn't you tell me? Clara smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. You gave me a chance when no one else would, she said. You believed in me, Bridget. That's why I'm giving you this. She slid a folder across the table, her hands steady now. Inside were legal documents, ownership papers for Newman's Bistros still in her name, untouched by Stephen's schemes. I'm signing it over to you, she said. The restaurants, the brand, everything. It's yours to rebuild. I stared at the papers, my mind reeling. This wasn't just a gift. It was a legacy, a chance to carry forward what Stephen had tried to destroy. Before I could respond, the news broke. Robert Gray's article had done more than tarnish Stephen's reputation. His company fired him that morning, citing ethical violations. Social media buzzed with the scandal, and his industry allies turned their backs. By noon, he showed up at the restaurant, his suit rumpled, his face pale. Bridget, we need to talk, he said, his voice desperate. Kristen, wiping down tables, shot me a look but stayed silent. I crossed my arms, standing firm. What do you want, Stephen? I asked, my tone icy. He paced, his hands shaking. I know about Clara's restaurants, he said. You can't handle that kind of business alone. Let me in. We can share it. Rebuild together. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You stole her life's work, and now you want a piece of it? I stepped closer, my voice low. You spread lies, tried to evict us, and betrayed everyone who trusted you. I'm done with you. His eyes widened, but I didn't stop. You're not my brother anymore. The words cut through the air, final and heavy. He stood frozen, then turned and left without a word. That evening, my mother, Donna Quinn, called me to her house in Coral Gables. I braced myself, expecting her to defend Stephen. She always had. But when I arrived, her face was grim. I read the article, she said, setting down her coffee. I didn't know how far he'd gone. She stood, pulling me into a hug. I'm proud of you, Bridget. You're doing right by Clara, by yourself. Her words hit me hard, a weight lifting I hadn't known I carried. Thank you, Mom, I whispered, my voice catching. Donna nodded, her hand on my shoulder. You don't need him. You've got us. The Miami Food Festival was hours away, and Clara's gift changed everything. Kristen and I spent the night planning, mapping out how to revive Newman's Bistros under our restaurant's name. Clara joined us, her ideas sharp and bold like the leader she'd once been. We weren't just fighting for our little Wynwood spot anymore. We were building something bigger, something Stephen could never touch. His downfall was justice, not just for me, but for Clara, for every dream he'd tried to crush. As we packed up for the festival, Tara called with an update. Your booth's the talk of the festival, she said, her voice brimming with excitement. They want you to host a cooking demo on the main stage. I gripped the phone, my chest tight with anticipation. The Miami Food Festival was our moment to cement Clara's legacy, but it was also a chance to show the world what we'd built. With Newman's Bistros now in my hands, I wasn't just fighting for our little Wynwood spot, I was carrying forward a vision Stephen had tried to bury. The festival was a whirlwind with vibrant stalls stretching along the Miami waterfront. Our booth showcasing Clara's bold flavors had crowds spilling over into neighboring lanes. I caught Clara's eye as she plated a dish, her movements precise, her face glowing with purpose. Kristen hustled between orders, flashing her infectious grin at customers. A young woman approached her hands, nervously clutching a notebook. "I'm Stacy, a culinary student," she said, her voice eager. "Your story inspires me. Can I work with you?" I smiled, seeing my younger self in her ambition. "Come by Monday," I told her, already picturing her in our kitchen. The festival's success propelled us forward. Reservations poured in, and we couldn't keep up with demand at our original location. Using Clara's ownership papers, I secured a loan and opened a second restaurant in Coconut Grove, its open-air patio perfect for her signature dishes. I brought Stacy on as a trainee, guiding her through knife skills and seasoning blends. "It's about more than food," I said one afternoon as we chopped herbs side by side. "It's about creating something lasting." Stacy nodded, her focus intense, soaking up every word. We hired more young staff, many from struggling neighborhoods, giving them a chance to learn and grow. We didn't stop there. Inspired by Clara's resilience, I started a community initiative offering free cooking workshops for local youth and donating meals to shelters. During one session, a teenager named Leo perfected a spicy shrimp dish, his shy smile breaking through as the class cheered. Clara watched, her eyes misty. "This is what keeps me going," she whispered. Tara joined as a volunteer, teaching knife techniques, while Kristen managed logistics, her energy keeping everyone on track. Our restaurant transformed into a community anchor, a place where people found not just meals, but connection. Meanwhile, Stephen's downfall was complete. After his firing, the industry shunned him. Restaurants he'd once partnered with cut ties, and his name became a cautionary tale in Miami's food scene. Tara heard from a friend that he'd left town, taking a low-level job at a chain diner in another state, his reputation in tatters. "He's got no one now," she told me, her tone matter of fact. I felt a pang, but no regret. His choices had built his ruin. Donna, my mother, made her stance clear. She met me at the new restaurant, her face resolute. "I've cut contact with Stephen," she said, stirring her tea. "He crossed too many lines." I reached for her hand, grateful. "You're with us now, Mom," I said. She nodded, her presence at our opening night drawing a crowd of her friends, boosting our launch. Donna's choice solidified our bond. She became a regular, sharing stories with customers and praising Clara's dishes. One evening as we closed up, she pulled me aside. "You've built something real, Bridget," she said, her voice warm. "I'm proud to be part of it." Her words carried me back to the days of doubt when Stephen's lies threatened to break us. We'd survived because of the family we chose: Clara, Kristen, Tara, and now Donna. Months later, I stood in the Coconut Grove restaurant watching Stacy confidently lead a prep team. Clara mentored a new hire, her laughter echoing through the kitchen. Kristen waved a glowing review from a food critic, calling us Miami's heart and soul. The journey hadn't been easy. Stephen's betrayal, the rumors, the fight to keep our doors open, but it taught me what mattered. Kindness, like giving Clara a chance, built trust. Perseverance turned a dream into reality. And family wasn't just blood, it was the people who stood by you. As I looked out at the packed dining room, I knew we'd created something unbreakable. The Miami skyline sparkled beyond the patio, a testament to our triumph.